The Honorable Trayon White Jr. is up next. Councilmember from Ward 8. Oath will be administered by the Honorable Carl A. Racine, Attorney General.
Mr. Trayon White, would you place your hand on the Bible? Thank you. I
Trayon White,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will faithfully execute the laws of the United States of America
that I will faithfully execute the laws of the United States of America
and of the District of Columbia,
and of the District of Columbia,
and will, to the best of my ability,
and will, to the best of my ability,
preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States,
preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States of America,
and will faithfully discharge the duties
and will faithfully discharge the duties
of Council of
Council of the District of Columbia.
which ward?
Ward 8?
For which I'm about to enter.
For which I'm about to enter.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Carl.
You want him to stay?
I'm starting my time, I'm using my iPad. So that means do not call me, you're gonna mess up my speech. So first I would like to thank God for getting me here to this moment. Without him, nothing is possible. So I also want to thank my ancestors who've paved the way for me to get here. And I'll start by naming a few. William Lockridge, Janice Pickett, Patricia Roberts, James Bunn, Grandma E. Carter, A.J. Cooper, Timothy Dawkins, Christopher Berry, Brandon Braswell, My Rock, Jean Ann Roberts, and the legendary Marion S. Berry. It is with great shoulders that I stand today. I thank God because he takes pleasure and takes the foolish things of the world to shame the wise. He takes those things that aren't to nullify the things that are. He takes pleasure in taking the dirtiest things, clean them up and make them shine so bright, for not for our sake, but for his glory. And I'm one of those seeds. Ain't God good, y'all? I think this morning I turned into a preacher when I woke up this morning. I was listening to my gospel music this morning. I said, oh, I'm about to preach myself today. I'm reminded of a saying my grandmother, Jean Ann Roberts, used to say. She used to say, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not into your own understanding. And in all your ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct your path. And I'm excited this morning about the opportunity to lead. See, I grew up in Southeast D.C. during the 80s and 90s, where it wasn't as prosperous as it is today, and so many struggles to get through those times. See, I submit to you today that all is not lost. We stand here. I want everyone who worked on the We the People's campaign to stand up briefly. Stand up. You worked on the We the People's campaign. Stand up. I want to thank you all for helping me, for supporting me, for praying for me, for encouraging me to help us to defy the odds. You may take your seats. Thank you. We show people what it's like when people come together for a common cause. We show people what we can do. We come together on one accord, one heart, one mind, and one vision. And in November, we defied the odds. See, as I travel throughout the city, I have a wallet. My mother always told me, try and get your wallet, because she keep my stuff in a Ziploc bag. She told me, get a wallet. And in my wallet, I keep my food stamp card, my former food stamp card, because it reminds me of my humble beginnings, of where I came from, and where God has taken me. I always learned you should never forget where you come from, because you might have to go back. It reminds me that as DC grows to a prosperous city, the poor is getting poorer and the rich is getting richer. It reminds me that as cranes go up in the sky, we are concerned about economic development, but little concerned about people development. It reminds me that it costs $300 per day on average to incarcerate one of our youth. Yet it costs about $78 every day to do an after-school program. So it's my desire as the new leadership in Washington, D.C. to change the paradigm of how we lead in Washington, D.C. See, the day of sleeping is over. In the spirit of Sankofa, serving is not something that we should do. Serving is something that we must do. While we are excited that I'm in office, we should be equally as excited about the chance to organize ourselves and our spheres of influence to demand what we want and what we need. It is your job not to just be happy that I got elected, but to hold me accountable, to hold our elected officials accountable, because we're in a day and time where no one, I repeat, no one gets a pass. See, I was in Atlanta, Maryland a few months ago, probably a couple of months ago now, where I ran into a lady, and she said, "How you doing, Mr. White?" She called me Trayvon White. I know my mother doesn't like that. It's actually Trayon, and I'm a senior, not a junior. Let's get that together. She said, "I voted for you." I was like, "You voted for me? You live in Atlanta, Maryland." She said, "See, I live in a homeless shelter out here in a hotel in Atlanta, Maryland. We're DC residents here." And I can't quite remember if it was actually Atlanta, but it was El Lago, Atlanta, one of the Marylands. And she began to tell me how she was having trouble getting her children to school in the morning waiting for this bus. She was like, all the kids go to DC public schools. And so in my heart began to get sad. And I began to realize that we have a mighty work ahead of us. And I submit to you today that I can't do this alone. See, let me tell you, over the last 10 years, I know for a fact that Ballou Recreation Center was closed, Hawk Recreation Center was closed, Anacostia Recreation Center was closed, Orr Recreation Center was closed, Malcolm X Recreation Center was closed, was reopened, and number 11 Boys and Girls Club, where I came up, was closed down. See, we need a redirection of resources to our community, not a divestment, but an investment back to where our community lies. I look forward to working with Mayor Bowser, Chairman Mendelson, and the rest of my colleagues to ensure we will fight for everyday residents of the District of Columbia. In fact, we've already started. With my men in the middle stand up, Wally and the guys, we started going into the middle schools to recruit guys off the streets, off the corners. You can take your seat. To get involved, to changing the paradigms of our young people in the city, because the time of talking is over. We live in a time where I served in a school where we often gave accolades about how we're improving our education system, and we are. But the sad reality is that for African-American boys throughout the city, the gap of achievement is steadily widening. And as I get all the calls from my brothers over the DC jail and all across the United States saying, "Trey, I need $20. It reminds me we have to think differently about how we educate, empower, and pour into our most vulnerable residents. Together, we will work day and night to ensure we put people back to work. There is no excuse with why anyone who wants and is able to get a job in DC cannot participate in the American dream. Today, during these times, we will make a conscious decision to not accept being mediocre. We will encourage people to start their own businesses. Like when I met with Deputy Mayor Courtney Stoughton, they encourage people to join Project 500 to stand up businesses. DC gives out millions and millions of dollars, but every time I hear minority business, they feel like they're getting the short end of the stick. And today, it is over. So as I go in closing, I would like to encourage you, because if we look back 2 years from now, and I'm a council member, the community hasn't gotten any better, know that I'm not just at fault, but we all are at fault, because we all have a role and responsibility to play regardless of title. So the words of hearing forward, don't just find fault, find a remedy. And it goes with our campaign slogan, don't just stand there, do something. I love y'all, God bless.